Okay, it is 6 p.m. So out of respect for everyone's time, Liz, I'll toss it to you and you guys can get started.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to meet with us and learn a little bit more about the proposed stormwater bond initiative that is found on the upcoming election ballots. And before we start, I'd like to just start off every meeting with a little background on LTU mission and how we make decisions and what we always look for. Our goal always is to responsibly deliver, enhance, and maintain critical infrastructure and services for the good of our community. And in deciding on bond initiatives and projects, this is the lens through which we look to. And as you all know, as we are coming up on 10 years of the flood that impacted our community in 2015, that's a great reminder of that managing stormwater is crucial to maintaining the health and safety of our community and our property for everyone. Effective stormwater management not only prevents flooding, but it also reduces pollution in our waterways, and it ensures that our infrastructure can handle heavy rain events, which it was exciting to see rain today. But thanks to watershed strategic planning and our community's investment over the past 40 years, we have largely been spared from devastating floods that other communities across Nebraska and across the nation has seen. As I mentioned in May of 2025, we will commemorate the 10-year anniversary of the 2015 100-year flood event in Lincoln. And this event really was a pivotal moment in our history as the Salt Creek levee successfully held during that flooding, which prevented millions of dollars in potential damage. And as we saw in July this year, we are seeing heavier, more localized rain events that significantly impact our community. Over the decades, our community has largely avoided any major flooding experiences, and the stormwater projects we undertake are guided by our master planning efforts, and they're designed to strengthen Lincoln against such events. So our commitment is to continue our steady improvements across the community for stream stability, urban drainage efforts, and those are really our key to protecting our community, our residents, and our businesses from future flooding. And so tonight we just want to go through some of the work and efforts that our watershed team does. And I will turn it over to our watershed superintendent, Tim Zock, and he'll walk through what our proposals are.
Hello, good evening. My name is Tim Zock. I'm the superintendent of stormwater with Lincoln Transportation and Utilities. Stormwater bonds help maintain the health and safety of our community members, and their property. These bonds help prevent and manage flooding, reduce pollution in waterways, ensure sound infrastructure during rain events, improve our water quality, prevent erosion, protect aquatic habitat, and offer aesthetic and recreational benefits. For 40 years, our community has supported our Lincoln Transportation and Utilities strategic efforts through the approval of 15 stormwater bonds since 1977. These 15 bonds have all been passed by the voters. 9 of these bonds have been retired, and there are currently 6 bonds remaining. And of those 6, 3 of them have been refinanced to lower interest rates. I just wanted to give an example of recent stormwater projects and how the public value is created from improving these infrastructure and investing in these improvements. Before the improvements took place near 56th Street and Fletcher Avenue, many businesses in the area reported flooding every few years. And you can see in these pictures, there's water in one of these offices and flooding getting outside of the channel and flooding the Fletcher Street. With funds from the 2016 Stormwater Bond, the city partnered with the Lower Platte South Natural Resources District and were awarded a FEMA grant to widen the channel, replace the bridge at Fletcher Avenue, and reduce the flooding in the area. Since this project was completed in 2021, the city has received no reports of flooding in this area. Another example of a project that has brought, protected infrastructure and property is the Beal Slough at 14th Street. This project was funded with the 2007 Stormwater Bond to again widen the channel here, replace 2 bridges, and reduce flooding to the state penitentiary and businesses in this area. This $13.9 million bond issue will use these funds for a range of stormwater management projects. These projects are designed to improve our infrastructure, reduce flooding, and protect our environment. These projects will focus on flood reduction, floodplain preservation, stream stabilization, urban drainage improvements, and water quality improvements. Here is a map of the projects that we've selected to be funded with this $13.9 million bond. You can see these projects are spread throughout the city, and you can see the different colors of the projects are the different types of projects. So urban drainage projects are in green, the stream stabilization projects are in orange, and parks drainage projects are in yellow. And then we have some additional projects in blue. So first, for the urban drainage projects, these projects reduce flooding in streets and neighborhoods. They address local flooding issues that we've identified in our studies. These projects involve improving the drainage system under the streets, such as constructing larger storm pipes and more inlets to reduce street and property flooding. The projects that would be funded are the 48th Street at Cornhusker Highway Railroad undercrossing, the area around 10th Street and Park Avenue, and 11th Street and Harrison Avenue, and the area around 63rd Street and Ellsworth Avenue. And these 3 areas have been identified in our studies as areas of flooding potential and as priorities for us to address. The 48th Street at Cornhusker Highway Railroad undercrossing was one that experienced flooding in the heavy rains we received in July of this year. And we are planning improvements at this area to improve the pumping system, as there's a pump that pumps stormwater out of this undercrossing, and also look at improving the inlets and storm pipes to reduce the frequency of flooding and the severity of flooding here. The next projects that we have identified are stream stabilization projects. These projects stabilize the stream channels to improve water quality and prevent erosion and reduce flooding. The goals of these projects are to be proactive. We have done watershed master plans that identify these stream erosion issues and have prioritized these locations to stabilize the streams. This helps reduce development costs and protects city development and new neighborhoods from potential erosion. So the projects that we've selected are along Haynes Branch near South Folsom Street. This is right near the Van Dorn and Highway 77 interchange. The next one is Southeast Upper Salt Creek near 27th Street, in between Rokeby Road and Saltillo. And then another one on Southeast Upper Salt Creek near 40th Street, just north of Rokeby, where the city recently constructed a new bridge. And then along Middle Creek near Southwest 40th. This is north of the West A area and east of Southwest 40th. And this will kind of help protect Middle Creek as well as the West A neighborhood. And then one along Upper Wagon Train near Bennett Road. This is just south of the new Standing Bear High School. These 5 areas are in new growth areas, and some of them are outside of city limits, but these help protect and stabilize streams ahead of development getting to these locations. We also have identified some other smaller miscellaneous projects that we'll be implementing. The next projects are parks drainage projects to improve the use and functionality of our parks and trail infrastructure. These projects, many of our parks are located along drainage ways, and it's a great use of this land around natural drainage ways and to preserve those areas for flood flows, as well as to have a nice recreational area. And so these projects are to improve some of those areas that have degraded. So the Beal Slough Pine Lake Trail underpass, as you can see in the picture here, during frequent rain events, mud gets deposited on the trail and creates a safety issue for cyclists and pedestrians. The next one is Herbert Park channel stabilization. This is to stabilize the channel through Herbert Park. Stir Park channel stabilization. Stir Park has a concrete lined channel that has deteriorated, and so we'll look to repair that, be partnering with parks as they look to improve the park infrastructure and playground equipment. And then Mahoney Park channel is another concrete line channel that is starting to deteriorate that we'll be looking to address. Some additional projects that will also be funded by the Stormwater Bond are urban drainage studies. I mentioned that the urban drainage projects that we'll be doing came out of urban drainage studies. We have studied a lot of the areas of the city, especially in older neighborhoods that have undersized infrastructure that has deficiencies, but there are still areas that need to be studied. So we'll continue to study our existing system to look where there are deficiencies, where there are areas of flooding potential, and prioritize those areas and identify projects to address that. We also have money to set aside for street drainage. This is money to coordinate with street improvement projects, and if there's drainage needs, as those that are identified with those projects. The Stormwater Bond also has additional funding set aside for the Dead Man's Run flood reduction project, and I'll get into this in a little bit more detail on the next slide. We also have funding to repair damaged storm inlet tops. You can see in the picture here, this damaged top with rebar and concrete exposed. These inlet tops that are damaged pose a safety threat to the traveling public, and so we'll be looking to replace a number of these around town. And then finally, we're looking to fund street sweepers. They fund some additional street sweepers to help keep our storm drains free of debris and clogging, and also to improve our water quality by getting pollutants such as trash, sand, gravel, leaves off of the streets to improve the water quality in our streams and lakes. So as I mentioned, we are looking to set aside additional funding for the Dead Man's Run flood reduction project. This project originally was started with the city and the NRD when we reached out to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They came up with a plan for a project to remove the flooding from approximately 480 structures, so 480 homes and businesses. The original cost estimate was around $25 million, and the project was anticipated to be completed in 2022. Well, that project saw many delays with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the costs continued to escalate to a point where the city could not afford to do the project, and we weren't receiving the same benefits that we were initially anticipating. And so the city and the NRD have decided to look to complete this project on our own without the Corps of Engineers. Have been looking at some other options that will still achieve the same benefits of removing that flood risk from approximately 480 structures, with a cost of about 26 million. So to get this project completed and across the finish line, we need to set aside some additional funding to complete this project with this stormwater bond. So the breakdown of the funding for the different types of projects is $3.6 million for flood reduction and floodplain preservation projects, $3.6 million for stream stabilization projects, $5.7 million for urban drainage improvements, $1 million for street sweepers to improve water quality, for the total of $13.9 million. This is expected to have and cost the average household and about $9.65 per year. And that's roughly 80 cents per month. So to conclude, these projects, the proposed stream stabilization projects, will protect land and water quality. The proposed urban drainage projects will reduce flooding. These projects protect homes, businesses, and city infrastructure, and these projects leverage other funds. As I mentioned, there are no other source of funding for these projects. The bond dollars are the only funding that the city has for stormwater projects. And without bond dollars, the city would not be able to receive funding from other state and federal agencies. And we would not be able to partner with other local agencies such as the Lower Platte South Natural Resources District. So with that, I will turn it over to Liz.
All right. Thank you, Tim. I know that was a lot of information, and what we really wanted to do was get to questions and anything that all of the viewers out there are interested in. So we can turn now and open it up for questions. You can go ahead and write the questions in the chat, and Erica will help us make sure we hit all of the questions. No questions so far?
I'm not getting any questions.
A few minutes. It's a lot of information to digest, and we gave you a lot of information.
Okay, there is one question. Are any of the homes to be removed as part of the Dead Man's Run project inhabited?
Well, so with the project, we will not be physically removing any homes or businesses, but we will be doing constructing some detention basins to hold back floodwaters in those detention basins, as well as widening out the channel so that the floodwaters stay within the channel, and replacing a couple of the bridges so that the floodwaters can go under the bridge instead of spilling over into the neighborhoods. So the idea is we'll be removing the floodplain from those homes and businesses so that the flooding stays within the Dead Man's Run channel.
And thank you for asking that, because I think the language is probably not the best. We could probably word it a little different, that we're not actually getting rid of the homes or demolishing them or kicking people out of their homes. We're actually just making sure the water, when it floods, doesn't get to those homes. Other questions?
Any other questions? Yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, well, seeing no other questions, you can always reach out to any of us on here. There is a lot of information on our website. You can go to the city website, and at the top of the page, there's a banner for the stormwater bond proposal, or you could go into the search engine and watch, type in bond or watershed, and it will take you to an additional page with lots of information. So Erica has put her email in the chat, so feel free to email them to her, and she'll make sure it gets to Tim, Donna, or myself, and we'll get those answered as quickly as possible. So thank you all again for joining. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, and let us know if you have any questions. Have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
I will end this recording. Thank you and have a great day.